Change. One thing for certain in life is things will change. Everything is changing. Everything is constantly changing. In the first few seconds that I have spoken, you have changed, as well as myself. The weather changes, people change their minds, relationships change, evolve, and grow. And what can you do about this? One of the things people hate is change. They dislike it because when something changes, it's different. We get so comfortable with the familiar, even if we don't like it. How many times have you known people, maybe yourself, that were in relationships and they were unhappy? They complained about it all the time, but yet they were afraid to change their situation when they were the only ones that could initiate and make that change. I've been there myself. The pressure, the misery, the pain has to get bad enough to motivate us to change. People are always trying to relieve themselves from pain. I've done that too. And they usually take the easier, softer way. Many people take medications. And I have nothing against medications. I've taken medication in my life also. Some people self-medicate with alcohol, drugs, work, exercise. There are many forms of self-medication besides taking a pill or an injection. Take a look at your life and see how you may be self-medicating. There are constructive ways to self-medicate and destructive ways. I believe meditation is a constructive way to self-medicate, if you want to use that term, to find peace of mind. I used to find peace of mind in drinking a couple of beers, but usually after I drank a couple, I would drink a few more, because if 2 or 3 made me feel good and at peace, 6, 7, 8, or 10 is going to make me feel better, right? And it did for a while. I enjoyed drinking. I had fun. Sometimes I had fun and sometimes I didn't. But there came a time in my life where it just didn't give me that peace that it used to give me. Time for a change. But what am I going to do? I've been doing this for years, or I had been, till I was about 30. And then it just didn't work anymore. So I have to change something. But what do you do when your whole life it revolved around drinking or doing drugs and partying? You think that you're going to have a stupid, boring, and glum life. And this is not just with drinking and drugging or partying or whatever it happens to be. We become so accustomed, you might say in a rut, if it's not taking us where we want to go, to a certain activity or endeavor or pursuit, even when it's not working, even when it's causing us misery or problems or trouble that we don't want to change. Pain is a gift. It's a wonderful motivator. Pain helps us to change. And as I started to say, most people want to escape the pain. Pain is a messenger to tell you that something is wrong. And if you don't listen to it, it's the same thing as driving down the road and one of your warning lights comes on and you take a piece of tape and you cover it up so you can't see it. No problem here. I can't see any lights on. That pain is like a light coming on in your car on the dash. It's telling you that something is wrong, something is moving in the wrong direction. And if you don't deal with it now, if you hide from it, if you stick your head in the sand, if you ignore it, it's going to get worse. And maybe cause problems that you cannot rectify, that you cannot fix, unless you deal with it now. Pain usually starts out ever so slightly. A small pain, a small annoyance. It's speaking to you. You just need to listen. Instead of blaming, if this person or that situation would just change, I would be okay. I wouldn't feel this pain. No, what can you do? What can you change? Rarely does the world or other people ever change for you. But if you change, you'll find out that it seems like the world and people change, but they don't. Everything happening to you in your outer world is a reflection of what's going on in your inner world. Do you go out during the day and find people make you angry? That there are crazy drivers everywhere? That it seems like people are just doing things to personally piss you off? Well, that's just a reflection, a creation of the anger that is within you. Now, that anger may come from something that happened to you many years ago. Maybe you're angry at yourself. Maybe you're angry at God. I find that people, including myself, if they are angry at God, are usually very angry with themselves because they've made mistakes. Well, guess what? You're never going to stop making mistakes, nor am I. But what you can start to do is learn from your mistakes and make fewer of them as you go through life. Where do you think wisdom comes from? Anything that I've learned or that I know has come through experience, life experience. I have a friend, he's 82 years old, and he says, I'm still growing, I'm still learning. You're never too old to learn. You're never too old to gain more wisdom, which, as I said, comes from life experience. Sometimes you have to make the same mistake over and over and over and over again before you finally get it, before you finally get the message. I suppose it doesn't have to be that way, but it seems like we as humans learn slowly at times. They tell us in school that we study history so we won't repeat our mistakes. But I would say we would be a nation or a world of geniuses if we truly did learn from history, from the mistakes of our forefathers. But we don't. If you look at the world, we continue to make the same mistakes. We're all driven by these primal desires, these emotions, these ingrained evolutionary urges for more. Greed. Think about that one. Greed. Is there lack in the world? No, there's no lack in the world. Man created lack. You create lack with your mind. You create the path or the reality you experience with your mind and your thoughts. And if you're experiencing the same thing over and over and over again, then you're not changing the root cause of that, which is your thinking. And every action that you have results from your thinking, from your dominant thinking. So if you don't like how your life is today, you can begin by changing your thinking. And if that's difficult for you to do, you can start by changing an action. You can act your way into good thinking, but you can't think your way into good acting. There's some truth in that. Even though your thoughts do precede your actions, sometimes we can't control our thinking. But you can make yourself act a certain way even if you don't feel like it. And if you continue to make yourself, which I guess is an act of volition, your willpower, if you continue to make yourself act in a certain way, you will find that that feeling will follow. Let me give you an example. You're having a resentment against your ex-wife, your ex-girlfriend. You can't stop being angry with her. That's to re-feel the anger. You can't stop feeling that anger against her for what she did to you. Maybe she cheated on you. Maybe she doesn't let you see your kids. You can do an act of kindness for her. Maybe you can't speak to her. Maybe she put an ex parte against you. Maybe it's not safe for you to talk to her. But you can think good thoughts for her. Okay, maybe you can't think them, but you can say them. You can wish her well. Whenever you think of her angrily, you can wish for her or pray for her if you like, for everything that you want for yourself to be given to her. Now, you first say the words, and you may not mean it, but if you try that, if you're willing, if you're miserable enough and you want to let go of that resentment, if you want to change your life, you do it every day. And after about 2 weeks, I didn't create this, I learned this somewhere else. After about 2 weeks, whether you had anger and resentment, you'll start to feel love and compassion. And you may find out if you continue to do this rigorously, consistently, that she will seem to change. I've done this before. I've had neighbors that were annoying, I thought, and I started looking for the good in those people, and I would start voicing out loud the good that I found. When my mind was thinking, I wish they weren't here, I wish they would move, I wish I owned that house, I would like to own that house, and then maybe my kids could live there and these people would be gone. If you can ever so slightly find something good in them, there's a little bit of good in the best of us and a bit of bad in the worst of us. We are all children of God and we each have a right to be here. What if the world were perfect? There would be no need for growth, for spiritual growth, for change, for anything remotely resembling progress spiritually or metaphysically, if you like. We need this resistance, the same as you need resistance when you go to the gymnasium to lift weights, to gain muscle, to build your body, to become healthy. We need adversity, we need challenge in every aspect of our life to grow. No pain, no gain, as they say. I believe that is true to a certain degree. Pain, as I said, is a gift. Now, I'm not talking about pain like a cancer patient has pain, but even that sometimes I've heard people talk about. They were close to death and the pain was unbearable. And looking back in retrospect, not during the time, but looking back in retrospect, they say that was the greatest gift they ever received, that they were glad it happened. I would hope if something like that ever happened to me that I could say the same thing. I can look back on my life at some of the more painful, emotional moments I had where I just felt like checking out and realize that that was one of the best times in my life for growth, and that I have the wonderful life I have today because of those seemingly unfair, terrible, emotionally traumatizing, the word people like to use nowadays, situations that I'd gone through in my life. When I was a child, and my parents never told me they loved me, they never hugged me, that I ever remember. I used to think that was bad. I used to think, man, I missed out or whatever. But the truth is, I wouldn't change a thing. because that made me the person I am today, and I'm able to help people with my experience. That gave me tenacity, confidence, strength, persistence, perseverance. It strengthened my will. It helped me get through those other tough emotional times in my life, the divorces, the custody battles, the false accusations, the impending loss of my freedom, all these things. Most of them self-imposed crises, because I was trying to run my life on self-will, where I finally got to the point and I realized that maybe I'm not very good at managing my life. That maybe, just maybe, if I tried to go with the flow of life a little more than trying to run the show and think I could see the puzzle of life, that I knew it was going to happen, that I knew it was best for this person, that person, and myself. But I can't know exactly what's best. I can set off in a direction. If I don't like the way my life is today, I can set a goal, head towards that goal. And if I trust God and believe that I can have whatever I want, even if I don't get to that, I'll get exactly what I want. It will be something better than I set out for. For God knows well the plans He has for you. They are plans for greatness, not for woe. Plans for a future full of peace and prosperity. Now, you can believe that or not believe it. Let's say you don't believe in God. That's fine. But that little phrase there, if you believe that or convince yourself that it's true, then everything that happens in your life can happen for you instead of to you, can push you forward instead of knocking you backward, can seem to be helping you instead of being against you. It's your choice to believe whatever you desire, whatever you like. You have a choice in your beliefs. Do you believe that because you're short and you don't think you're very attractive that no woman's going to like you? Oh, that's bull crap. I know guys that are lacking in the looks department. I know guys that are 5'4", 5'2", that pick up some beautiful women. How is that? Because you believe a certain thing, it becomes true in your life. Your actions, your body movements, your body language, everything, your words, the tone of voice is expressed in your beliefs about yourself, in your beliefs about reality, in your beliefs about God, the world, people, everything. Listen to what people are saying. Most people who have an unhappy, miserable life are complaining about what they don't like, instead of thinking and talking and speaking about what they do like. They want change, but they don't change their thoughts, they don't change their speaking, they don't change their vocabulary, and then their life remains the same. And it's like a snowball rolling downhill. It gets bigger, bigger, and bigger. Because whatever you focus on in your life grows in your experience. So ask yourself today, be aware of what you're thinking. What are you focusing on? What is your dominant thinking today? And if you don't put anything new into your mind, you feed your mind. You are the king of this kingdom right here. You decide what you let in and what you don't let in. And whatever you feed that will expand in your experience. I seen this poster on a wall at this place I was at one time. And it goes something like this. The young Indian boy was asking the old wise Indian. He said, "Master, I feel like inside of me there is a wolf and an eagle. Which one will rule me?" And the wise man looked down at the young boy and he said, "Whichever one you feed. Whichever one you feed." Think about that. Inside of each of us is a devil and God, if you like, or a good and a bad side. Which one are you feeding today? Are you spending your time watching porn? I have nothing against porn. Gambling, drinking, doing drugs, talking coarsely, vulgarly, gossiping, complaining about the government? And I've done all that. You know who that hurts? You. It doesn't hurt anybody else. You're feeding the bad side, the negative side. Or are you talking about the good? Are you looking for the good? Are you looking for the beautiful, the lovely, the wonderful, the positive? Are you saying, what if this doesn't work out? What if I lose my job? Are you saying, what if this works out wonderfully? What if I get a new job? What if I get a raise? What if my boss promotes me? What if my life just keeps getting better and better every day? Now, you're not going to get that kind of attitude from watching the news or getting caught up in those, what are they called? Clickbait traps of social media. And I've got caught up in those too. I'm not a saint. I mess up, I make mistakes, and I move on. Quit beating yourself up. Quit bad-mouthing yourself for mistakes you made yesterday, 5 days ago, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, 50 years ago. You can't change that. What did you learn from that? What did you learn from that that you can use to help someone else, some younger person, to get through that mistake easier when he makes it? So, I have a knock at the door, which is unusual. I'm going to take off. Have a great day. Like and subscribe. Take care.